Samandak, Samandaks. 고응행기니 이진문옥 뇨센묘 무요도샤 니칭앗마니 슈코엔뇨 아이시논페 윤야그주먹 뇨라이용엔 절세문인 쇼응아그다이온 거르지법 가이몬쇼짐 산마이치에 이토금으려 슈쇼케우 진타이젠넨 쇼붓호가이 그진진노 긍엉아이타이 무묘여근우 세소요무 니노시시 진토금으려 그큰 고다이 지혜짐여 거묘이소 신도다이센 간가사붓 자이쇼호 가도쇼지 미흐게닷 으세조이 가이닌쇼진 뇨세산마이 지혜이조 거세이토크붓 의교싱함 이사이크크 이사다얌 게시읍붓 야크셈노크만 무료다이쇼 신용오자 그여이사이 시토쇼붓 은요그도 겐쇼흑약 인용오자 쇼붓세카이 으흑강에 무슈셋노 걸묘시쇼 헨시쇼곡 녀세쇼지 이진난려 려응아사붓 国土第一五種奇妙道場超絶国女内音任務闘争ガト愛民道達二歳ジポ来生新年少女伊藤が国慶楽安穏公文神妙是が新書発願の日力少々欲自法節損知恵無下上領子孫知が信用軽量心死食毒中が行精進忍術不敬ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブ何にしくどく平等聖祭道法菩大心往生ナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツ Please join me in Gasho. The great practice is to say the name of the Tathagata of unhindered light. This practice comprehensively encompassing all practices, is perfect and most rapid in bringing them to fullness. For this reason, it is called great practice. Saying the name then breaks through all the ignorance of sentient beings and readily brings all their aspirations to fulfillment. Saying the name is in itself mindfulness. Mindfulness is nembutsu. Nembutsu is Namo Amida Butsu. Namandaps, 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 namandaps. Good morning, everyone. Before I begin my Dharma talk today, I would like to once again thank all of our wonderful Lotus class students for their hard work on their Bodhi Day service. Everyone did a fantastic job, and I would like to give a shout out to our high school senior for his amazing Dharma talk. I think that many of our adult members and adult members of the general community could learn a great deal from his talk, and it goes to show that in some cases, younger members of our Sangha sometimes handle hard situations with more grace and maturity as well. Certainly better than I do at times. Now to the Dharma talk today. The above passage that I quoted comes from Shindan Shonin's passages on the Pure Land Way. This particular section comes from the part on practice. Often when I am called or someone new to our sect of Buddhism inquires to me what our practice actually is, I have to stop and think about it for a minute. When we ask this question amongst ourselves, the answer is obvious. We say the Nembutsu, or the Nembutsu is our practice. Now, I know that this phrase comes with a lot of weight, and there was a lot to unpack here, so I would like to do this without taking too long, but also to give it some justice. For other schools of Buddhism, there are many practices that one must practice over and over again. Many of these schools as well look to the accumulation of merit to be reborn in a more favorable life so that they can become monks in that lifetime. For many, it takes several lifetimes in order to accumulate that much merit to be born in a favorable life with enough karma to seek the path of enlightenment. Our school is the easy path. However, when I say easy, and I think when Shindan says easy, or when everyone else says easy practice, we kind of say that in a somewhat deceptive way. And what do I mean by this? In our school, all one needs to do is say the name of Amida Buddha in order to benefit from the wisdom and compassion from the Pure Land. But at the same time, Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion is always working for all sentient beings' benefit. So in truth, it is not us saying Namo Amida Butsu that grants us the benefit, but us saying Namo Amida Butsu is an acknowledgement of that benefit. You see how this is starting to get confusing? One of the beginner answers some ministers give is that we deeply listen to the Dharma. I believe that it is part of our practice, and in addition, I believe that there is also inspiration to our lives with gratitude and with the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha always on our minds. It doesn't seem so easy now, does it? One of the main reasons for this is because there isn't a step-by-step list of all of the things that one has to do in order to fully reach enlightenment in our school, right? So when you go to school, right, sometimes, especially when you go to our school system, I think most school systems around the world, there's the first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, right? And then sometimes we have special names for that, right? Oh, that's a freshman. Oh, a sophomore, junior, senior, right? There's all these levels, right, that you can kind of accomplish, and that sometimes has to do with your age and the grades that you get, right? In Jodo Shinshu, there really isn't this kind of leveling system. And in fact, if you look at the language of Shinran, he sometimes seems to indicate that enlightenment, or at least near enlightenment, is already within our grasp. This can be somewhat dangerous for people to read on a surface level because then it may lead us to think that we are already these enlightened beings walking on the earth. So what is Shinran trying to tell us? Well, one of the explanations I think that would be accurate is that Shinran is merely telling us that we are these imperfect beings on this earth who are filled with bonno, or kleshas, or I like to use the word afflictions. In our organization of the BCA, along with our head temple of Nishihonganji, the phrase that has been chosen to translate this is blind passions. We are burdened with these afflictions that keep us from attaining enlightenment in this lifetime. In fact, Shinran has gone as far to say that our karmic evil is so deep that it is virtually impossible for us regular, ordinary beings afflicted with all of these blind passions to become enlightened in this lifetime by our own powers and our own merits. Impossible. One of the here and now examples I will bring to this table now are the people in this life now who still refuse to accept the existence of a deadly virus that can kill people. We have been given very easy and frankly common sense methods of combating this virus, since right now there doesn't seem to be this miracle cure for it. Yes, there are vaccines on the horizon, but even those won't just make the problem go away on its own. We all have parts we have to play during this time of pandemic, and sadly, it seems like a large portion of our population refuses to acknowledge the severity of the situation. There were millions of people who were traveling all over the country during the holiday, and sadly now we are seeing more people being admitted to the hospitals and suffering from this deadly virus because of their travel plans, or because they refuse to acknowledge the deadliness of the virus, or even they went as far as having these huge gatherings for Thanksgiving, these huge family gatherings. Now, again, I don't want to stand from this pulpit and seem like I'm like condemning those people, right? Like I'm not necessarily pointing the finger at that and saying like, look at all those bad people, right? But I'm also giving a clear example of what I think us as ordinary beings, led by our human passions, led by our afflictions, right? Our attachments, if we want to use that word, right? What that looks like. Now, that being said, I am no better, right? I am actually no better than those people who did that, right? I am also an ordinary being. Even though Reverend Cindy and I did not go to gatherings or host gatherings for Thanksgiving, and we don't plan to travel home to Christmas for the Christmas holiday, we still felt this deep sense of sorrow, loneliness, and disappointment that we were unable to do these things in the first place. This also makes us ordinary beings just like you. So just because we didn't necessarily do certain things, that doesn't make me better than you. I am not. Right? All of even my disappointment, that comes from a sense of attachment, right? That comes from the sense of, I want to do this thing, and now I'm angry, or now I'm upset because I can't do that thing. Or even if there is a part of me that's going, well, at least I didn't do what they did over there, right? That also is my bono, that also is a klesha. That also is my human ego telling me that I am better than those people over there, right? When in reality, I'm not. While this seems somewhat pessimistic or bleak, one of the reasons why Shinran praises Amida Buddha is because we are all accepted to the Pure Land from the gate of samsara just as we are. For Amida Buddha, it doesn't matter the weight of our karmic evil. It doesn't matter if we are rich or poor, educated or not, what our race is. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is or what your gender identity is. All beings. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, in fact. Actually, that's something I should break away from my Dharma talk. I shouldn't say that it doesn't matter, because you all matter, right? Everybody matters. But in that being said, what I mean to say is that Amida Buddha values everybody, right? Ultimate enlightenment values everyone, okay? So not that it's like, I don't care if this, right? That's not the language that I should be using. All beings, in fact, even for those who foolishly thought that the virus was not a big deal, or those who actively defy health regulations because they feel it inconveniences them, or are also accepted by Amida Buddha, right? So that might be a hard pill for some of us to swallow. But all sentient beings of this earth are accepted to the Pure Land. Bodhisattva Dharmakara crossed through 10 kalpas of time, which means a really, really long time, with the constant practices and hardship it took in order to create the Pure Land in which we are all born, where we instantly attain enlightenment. Well, that is wonderful, isn't it? However, how does that help us with our living situation now? Well, let me be clear. Saying Namo Amida Butsu is the ultimate practice that is the working of Amida Buddha. However, it must not be viewed in the superficial way, right? Saying Namo Amida Butsu does not mean that I all of a sudden will have this magical shield that will prevent me from becoming sick from coronavirus, or that I become somewhat invulnerable to being physically hurt. Saying Namo Amida Butsu will not grant me a lot of luck that will help me pick out the winning numbers of the lottery or the Powerball lottery. If that were the case, our sect would be way more popular in the United States, and I'm certain the membership charge would be at least $10,000 per year, if not more. When we realize that we are these imperfect beings that cannot hope to attain the ultimate awakening on our own, and that we must rely on the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha, we place our hands together and we take refuge in Amida Buddha, and we say, Namo Amida Butsu. That realization comes from the working of Amida Buddha, and so now the big question is, what do we do with that? Well, for many of us, we are still here on this earth, and we are suffering with everyone else. So I think in large part, our religion encourages us to keep on self-reflecting about the choices and the actions that we make in our society. How do we interact with others? This doesn't mean that we second guess every decision we make, but that there is this deep listening that we constantly engage in when we hear the Nembutsu. It is very important that we acknowledge our imperfect selves. In fact, there might be a lot of harsh truths about ourselves that we really don't want to deal with, or that we really don't want to look at. However, realizing that that is who we are, and then realizing that because of those afflictions, Amida Buddha embraces us all the more, is the reason we come to dwell in the stage of the truly settled. I grant you all this was a bit of a difficult Dharma talk this weekend, but I hope that in many ways it inspires you all to think a bit more deeply about what it means to come every weekend to temple to listen to the words of Shinran Shonin. How do the teachings affect your life on a daily basis? Is being a Buddhist just a label or just a name tag that you slap on your coats and walk around with? Or is it something more? It's not necessarily that, oh, I just say Namo Amida Butsu and that I'm all good, right? Because then we get into the really dangerous aspect of licensed evil. But at the same time, it's also not, oh, I got to do all this good stuff. I have to donate to all these charities. I have to donate to this, or I have to be a good person, right? That's not that either. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do those things. In fact, I think this year in particular, more so than ever, one should give to charity, because we should realize now more than ever that this pandemic has caused a lot of harm in more ways than one, not just in physical health, but in economic means as well. And a lot of people are going hungry this particular holiday season. So if you can, and you should donate to charity, not because you think that it's going to make you oh, I'm going to become this better person, or oh, I'm going to get more enlightened, or even I'm going to become a bigger Buddha in the Pure Land, which is something that apparently people thought back in the day, but because you are a little bit more aware of the surroundings in your lifetime, right? There is this toll that we have seen that a lot of people have suffered with because of the restrictions of the pandemic. So, if anything, instead of getting angry and tearing off your mask and going out and marching about and saying, I don't have to wear a mask if I don't want to, why don't you convert that energy into something positive and donate to a homeless shelter that actually needs your funds right now to help feed the hungry, right? So, I mean, if you are able to, of course. We are heading towards the middle of December, and I wish you all a safe holiday season. So what does that mean? Until that time, until the time comes where the pandemic is over, please continue to wear masks, practice social distancing, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, stay in contact with your friends and loved ones through Zoom or through the phone, and as always, say the Nembutsu. Once again, thank you very much for coming and listening to today's Dharma Talk. I really hope everyone is keeping warm and staying safe during these uncertain, harsh, and sometimes scary times. And please know that do not hesitate to contact me if there is anything that you need to talk about, or if you need some spiritual counseling. Do not hesitate to contact me. You know, we are here for you. Cindy and I are here for you. And always, Amida Buddha is still with us, even during these harsh times. Okay? Amida Buddha is still with us. I want us all to remember that. So with that in mind, please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Nammandats, 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 Nammandats. To conclude this service, I would like to recite Renyo Shonin's Shonin Ichiryusho. Shonin Ichiryu no go kanke no omomuki wa shinjin no motte honto serare soro. そのゆえはもろもろの造業を投げ捨てて一心に皆に奇妙すれば不可思議の眼力として仏の方より往生は事情せしめたもそのくらいを一年発起入賞上始終と申しくし、その上の称名念仏った如来我が往生を定めたまいし、ご恩法人の念仏と心べきなり、あなかしこ、あなかしこ。